1208. I'm your girl Mona Lisa. I am so excited that you decided to join me today. This is my first full episode, and I'm so glad that you're here. I've been nervous about starting this, not nervous about starting a podcast. I've been excited about starting a podcast, but I've been nervous and anxious about getting in this seat to record this episode. It was just fear. That fear is gone because I done prayed to God. I said, Lord, cover me. Remove this fear that I have in me for some reason. And I don't get afraid about anything. I wasn't even scared on my wedding day or nervous on my wedding day. I just wanted everything to go right just as well as I wanted things to go right with this podcast. So I've been picking around and moving stuff around in this little studio, but I'm here. And I thank God that you're here with me. And I thank God for the vision. I always got to give him his props because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be sitting here in this seat. So today I wanted to do something different. I wanted to tell, my listeners, my viewers, a little bit about me because a lot of people don't know who I am. There's a few people who know who I am. I kind of try to stay off the radar, but I know that if I want this podcast to blow up, I gotta get on the radar. So I'm here, you're here, and we're gonna do it together. So I'm Mona Lisa, aka Lisa. I am married, second marriage. I have 4 children. They're not children, but I have 4 kids. And the people who know me know that I love my kids to death. Rashawn, Alicia, Shanice, and Gabriel. Yes, yes, yes. Super, super talented kids. My daughters bake and real creative with flowers and treats and all of that stuff. Both my sons rap. And I'm gonna share with y'all all of their Instagrams and Apple Music, SoundCloud, Spotify, all of that stuff. So y'all can check them out. I grew up in North Philly as a kid, from birth up until probably like 13 years old. And moved to West Philly when I was like about 12 or 13. Then started a family in West Philly, moved to South Philly. Excuse me. And now I'm out of state. My best years was in North Philly. I wouldn't live there now, but my best time, when I look back on my life, the best years that I had was when I was in North Philly. We had the art museum, we had friends, we had food, and just back then families were united as families and everybody got along. Well, there was some people who used to just get out there and just fight like crazy. I'm talking about like family feuds. I'm talking about like 25 people from one family getting out in the middle of the street to fight 25 people from another family. And I even seen my sister get shot, y'all, in North Philly. Thank God that she was okay. But yeah, that's living in the trenches, Diamond Street. But those were the best years. Those were the best years. South Philly, I lived there the longest, and I didn't feel like that was my home. I never felt settled. I never felt at peace. No matter how much I would paint, no matter how much I would redecorate that house, no matter how much I tried to do, I never felt like it was home. It was just, to me, I always felt like it was just a place for me to lay my head, feed my kids, and for us to just chill on the weekends. But I never felt settled in South Philly. And I always said I wanted to move to Delaware. When I was pregnant with my son, I visited Delaware for the first time. My son is now 20. And I always said, yeah, I'm going to move to Delaware. It was so beautiful. And I would always give myself like a 5-year time span. Like 5 years, I'm moving to Delaware. 5 years, I'm moving to Delaware. And I finally did it with the help of my husband. Thank you, God, for him. Yeah, I just got married in June of last year in Jamaica. It was beautiful. It was awesome. We had about 35, close to 40 people come out to support us. It was awesome. It was awesome. Had a ball, but it felt like kind of like a business trip because you got to be signing all these papers, you got to be doing this, doing that. I can't wait to go back there. I'm actually trying to plan a trip there now, just to go for a few days because that's one of my happy places along with Florida. Um, I've been in administrative work basically my entire life. Always sat behind a desk. That's why my weight always up and down because I don't never get out and walk nowhere. Um, but always sat behind a desk. Um, and as I got older, I realized that uh, I loved the jobs that I had and the opportunities that it afforded me. It put food on the table for my kids, paid the bills, but there was something that was missing. I like to talk, and when you're in an office building, you can't talk to nobody. You can talk to your coworkers, but they gotta do their work. You gotta do your work. Um, but I love to talk, and I realized that as I got older, I love to talk, and people like to talk to me. I can sit down next to somebody. I like to go to happy hour, y'all, and I ain't even going front. Sometimes after work, I might just pull up to a restaurant on my way home, sit at happy hour, have me some appetizers, have me a couple cocktails. I'll talk to a fence post. I'll talk to the person on the left, the person on the right, the barmaid, bartender, whatever they call it, the hostess. I talk to any and everybody. And I always walk away with little nuggets that I can carry with me. They share. I share with them, not too much, but um, a lot of people feel comfortable with talking to me. And that's a gift. And that's a privilege and that's an honor. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna tap into that. Because I like to run my dang mouth. Just a lot of things that people don't want to talk about. And we're gonna talk about it on this podcast from 1208 with Mona Lisa. Um, and how I came about this name. So my husband always pick on me, Mona, that's not your name. Yes, it is. I gave myself that name about 10 years ago because I always hear this song playing in my head, Mona Lisa, by Nat King Cole. And I was like, I like that. So I introduced myself as Mona. But anybody who know me, they know me as Lisa. But when I'm just meeting you, I introduce myself to you as Mona. They be like, oh, Mona Lisa, yes. So that's how we came up with Mona Lisa. And I like it and I'm going to stick with it. So, as y'all can see, I like to run my mouth. And this is going to be so much fun. So, this podcast, we're going to talk about everything. We're going to talk about domestic abuse because it's out there, it's real, it's relevant, and it needs to be discussed. We're going to talk about sexuality. We're going to talk about sex. We're going to talk about family, pains, passions, hurt, families, kids. We're going to talk about everything. We're going to talk about work. We're going to talk about just a lot. I'm sitting here and I'm looking at something on this wall that's right across from me, and it said 1208. That's God's confirmation. That's God's confirmation. Thank you, Lord. We're going to talk about everything. We're going to talk about everything, and I'm super, super excited that you guys are here with me today. My friends are awesome, y'all. I have my girlfriend, Marcy. She sends me stuff throughout the day. She'll be like, girl, this what you could talk about. Like, she gives me little ideas and stuff like that, and I love her to death. And then I have other friends that is excited about coming on this podcast because they just want to support me and they got things they want to share, things, and I'm going to let them share. I'm not just going to sit here and run my mouth because I'll have my time. But if I'm going to have guests on my podcast, I want them to talk too. I realized years ago I used to want to be in law enforcement. So when I was in high school, I took the test I wanted to work for the FBI. So I was in business academy, so we would have different kind of recruiters come to the school to try to recruit us right out of high school. The military, FBI, all kinds of, different things, to be an astronaut, anything. So I've always been intrigued with crime. I'm a hooky sometimes, y'all. And my mom won't kill me when she hear this. And God rest my dad's soul that he ain't gonna hear this because he probably pull out Mr. Brown and pop me with it. I used to hooky school sometimes and go sit in City Hall and listen to criminal cases. Isn't that weird? But I was always intrigued, and that's all I watch now: Murder, Death, Kill. And I took the test in high school to work for the FBI to be a fingerprint expert. I failed the polygraph test. I didn't lie. I just didn't know what I should say and what I shouldn't say. And I was, one of the questions, I guess it was a question to ask, like to kind of figure out, just to get the baseline for, truth and a lie with me. So the question was, they asked, have you ever smoked? Now, as a kid, my mom used to smoke. My dad used to smoke sometimes, and my mom would leave little cigarette butts in the cigarette ashtray. So I remember picking up those butts sometimes and putting on my mom's heels and acting like a grown up, probably like 6, 7 years old. So when they asked, did you smoke? I didn't know how to answer that question, and I think I hesitated, if I can remember, and I didn't pass. It came up that I was being deceptive about something, so I didn't do that. So then I was going to become a police officer. Right after high school, I met my first husband, and Lord, he was in a life of crime, so that just went out the window. Me becoming a police officer, that went out the window. So I just stuck with administrative work. But I've always been intrigued with crime. And as I got older, I'm like, I can be the best interrogator ever. Because when I'm talking, I'm thinking. And I got another question after another question. So that's another attribute for being able to have this podcast and being able to interview people. And like I said, I love to talk. So y'all might see some criminal minds come out in me when I have a couple people in here that might try to get up here and lie. And I'll be like, yeah, but because this seat is empty today. But next week, it will be filled with somebody that's going to make you laugh, y'all. I'm so excited. But this week, I just wanted to talk about me and share with you guys a little bit as to why I wanted to start this podcast and why I finally felt that now is the perfect time to get it started. What else did I want to share with you guys? About Mona Lisa, aka Lisa. So, like I said, I just got married in June, and my husband has pulled out something in me that I didn't realize that I love to travel, y'all. The first time I've been on an airplane was in 2016. I flew by myself. And for those of y'all who know me, y'all probably seen me on the Judge Mathis show. So if you didn't, go look it up. I'm going to give y'all the episode one of these days. Because if I can't remember what episode it was, but I was on the Judge Mathis show. So I had to fly out to Chicago. And it was an embarrassing reason why I was going out there. Because that's a whole nother story. But my first experience on a plane and ever in the Philadelphia International Airport was by myself. I was so excited, y'all. I was walking around Chicago like I lived in Chicago. I had the best time of my life. I was out there for, not the best time of my life, but I had, for my first experience, traveling by myself, I had a good time. I went to dinner, went to breakfast by myself. I shopped. I had a ball for those couple of days that I was out there. And then I flew back out there again with someone to the Steve Harvey show. Was in the audience of the Steve Harvey show. I did that twice, which was awesome. But I love to travel. I love the experience. I love going the ride to the airport. I love checking my bags in, checking in, going through TSA, because I don't never had no problems going through TSA other than having to get that pat down because I got this thing on my chest and I can't go through the metal detectors. But um, TSA, the waiting, like I love the whole experience and I love the water. Now I'm a fish that can't swim. I love the water and I can't wait until it starts to get warm. Excuse me, oh. I can't wait till it starts to get warm so that I can go back to the beach. I want to get to Florida. I've been looking at flights. Just to go to Florida nowadays is like $500 just for a round trip ticket. And I'm not driving. Me and my husband drove to Atlanta in October, and we drove to Atlanta in South Carolina. Never again. That's the longest ride ever. When we got there, we had a ball, but I'll never do that again. It ain't worth it. I'm driving 14 hours, and you can get on a plane for 2.5 hours. No, I'm not doing it. No, he loved it. He said it was cool, but I'm not doing it. And when we got married, y'all, I sat in first class. We ain't going to the back no more. That's it. We not going to the back. You getting served with food and wine. And listen, if you never flew first class, you gotta treat yourself. I'm never going to the back again. 33B, that's not for me. No, we first class all the way. It's just a few extra $100, but the experience. The seat is comfortable. My husband is tall and he's a big guy, so he needs to be comfortable. And I want to be pampered. I love to be pampered. So why not? But I love to travel. I've been to a lot of places. I still have a lot of places that I want to go. But my main purpose for traveling is I like to go for the cuisine. I want to try different ethnic foods. Like I want to go to Italy. I want to go to China. I don't want to go to India. Because I heard that India, I used to work for travel medicine. And I used to talk to a lot of the people that were coming in to get their vaccines for their international travel. They said India is dirty. And I don't want to go to India. I don't have no desire to go to like Dubai or none of that stuff. But I do want to go to Italy. I want to go to France. I want to go to China. Anybody who knows me, I want to go to Japan. Thailand. Anybody who knows me personally knows that I love Chinese food. I can eat it every day, and I have eaten it every day. Noodles. I'm about to get stock in ramen because that's all I eat. I can eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I have. I've got Chinese food in the refrigerator right now that I'm going to eat when I'm done this podcast. But yeah, it's a lot of places that I wanna see. I wanna go to Hawaii. I wanna go to Tennessee. And I know people say Tennessee. Yeah, I heard they got the best fried chicken. And I just wanna see. I just wanna go and check off on my my list of the places that I've been. I collect keychains. So what my goal is to get a map of the United States and to get a map of the world. And I'm gonna put the push pins, and then I'm gonna hand the keychains off of each place that I visit, with the hopes that before my life ends, that I can have it, at least in the United States, to have that completely filled. So a lot of the keychains that I do have, people brought back for me when they traveled, and I've gotten a lot on my own through my own travel. But if you have never traveled, listen, it's a lot more than here where you reside. I tell my kids, I don't have any biological grandkids. Do have 5 bonus grandkids that I love. Oh my God, Milani just learned how to walk, and her mother, that video that her mother sent us is hilarious. Okay, I tell my kids, listen. If y'all don't have any kids, y'all have, the responsibility of, being stuck at home because you got to find a babysitter, travel. There is so much to this world that you haven't seen other than what's in your backyard. Get out and travel, even if it's just for a weekend. Fly out to somewhere for a day. and come back home. What you got to lose? Nothing. You're gaining experience, culture. You getting, being well rounded. You may meet some awesome people along the way. So why not? Yeah, so I got 4 kids. They're 31, 28, 27, and 20. And my kids are awesome. My kids are awesome. They're funny. My son is actually traveling now to Colombia. Yes. And pray for him that he comes back home. He's like, yeah, he don't have any kids. He like, listen, I'm out. If somebody, say you don't want to go somewhere, he can take off from work. He out. And I thank God that my kids are not afraid. And I've never been one of those type of parents that's going to stifle their kids. First of all, if you're going to be disrespectful in my house, you got to go. If you want to go out and explore living on your own in a respectful way, I can't hold you back. That wouldn't be conducive for you, and it's not going to help you grow. You gotta go out there and you gotta experience things and experiment with things to be able to grow. I let my kids, if you want to go out there and try it on your own, go ahead. You got my blessing. I'm going to pray for you. I'm always here. My son moved out at an early age. My daughter moved out. Both of my daughters moved out. My youngest son, he was living at my home in Philly. My son went away to boarding school. My youngest son, he went away to boarding school in 9th grade. So he had already experienced living on his own. He didn't want to live with me. He loved me to death, and I love him too. And everybody know they call him my best friend, but I let them explore, and that's gonna make them better people. So don't stifle your kids. Let your kids grow and let them experience things, and they can have a lot to share when they do start to settle down. They can have a lot of stories they can share with their kids. So let that be that. Now raise your kids any way you want to, but for mine, I let them go. You want to go. And I talk with my hands. I'm realizing it right now. I'm like, I'm about to chop somebody. But I'm so excited about this podcast, y'all. And the biggest and the hardest step is getting in this seat. I be in the shower thinking about what I'm going to talk about. I be in the grocery store thinking about what I'm going to talk about. In the car. And the hardest part is getting in this seat. And once I sit down and hit record, it's a wrap. So I'm going to be here every Monday on Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm also going to be on YouTube. And I'm going to share on my Instagram and my Facebook a lot, little excerpts from the podcast. Just to remind you to tune in, just in case you forget. And while you're in the car driving, you can hop it on and listen to it. When you're on the elevator, tell your coworkers or the person next to you, check out Mona Lisa, Room 1208 podcast. And do the grocery store, laundromat, wherever you are, tell somebody. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys here with me every Monday, right here, Room 1208. So next week, I'm going to have my husband. He's one of the funniest people I know. He actually used to hang out with Kevin Hart in Philadelphia before, and Kevin used to try to encourage him to go down to the Laugh House with him, and I guess he was scared or nervous or whatever, however. But I'll let y'all tell the story. But he used to hang out with Kevin Hart, and he's one of the funniest people I know. My friends will call me to, y'all gotta come over because I need to laugh. I've been feeling sad. So anybody who knows him knows he always likes to crack jokes, and he's funny, and we can share our little love story. We can share our love story. I'm sure he gonna bust on me, and we bust on each other. And we actually, what we need right now is we need a reality show, because anybody who hangs out with us, they be like, oh my God, y'all two are the funniest people. A lot of people who know me, like grew up with me when I was younger, they may remember me as being quiet and reserved and to myself. I didn't have a lot of friends when I was younger. I had I had some friends that I grew up with in North Philly. Um, all friends. Some friendships and some things have expiration dates. And there's only one friend that I have from childhood that has never flaked on me. She's always been genuine. And even though, I think about it, I may not have been the best friend to her, meaning keeping her in the loop in my life, but she has never flaked on me. And we may not talk for years. We may not see each other for years, but she's always been Erica Bush. I'm going to give you a shout out because you have never flaked on me, and I thank God for our friendship. We grew up in North Philly. When I was born and not in the house, but the house that I grew up in North Philly, they lived upstairs from us. I was born in 72. My mom met them in, I want to say 76, 78. And we've been friends ever since. And she has never flaked on me. She calls me for my birthday, and sometimes I forget her birthday, and I'm so sorry, Erica. I know it's in August. I want to say August the 23rd, 27th. I know it was around the dates, and I'm so sorry. I love you. Charge it to my head, not my heart. But she has never flaked on me. So I want to give my props to Erica. She has always been a blessing. She always has an encouraging word. And she's funny as heck. But friendships have expiration dates. I learned as an adult that people who you may consider your friend, your best friend, they're not your friend. You're their friend, but they're not your friend. I can't, this is something I can't count on one hand how many times they've been there for me when I needed them. And the most devastating things that happened to me in my life, the death of my husband, the death of my father, the birth of my kids, let me take that back. They were there for one of the birth of my kids, but I got 4 kids. I've been pregnant 7 times. Talk about sharing. The only been there for one. I've been there for just about every aspect in this person's life, to the point that they let me be there. There were things that they didn't let me know that were going on in their life, but that's between them and that person. But don't want me to be in your life when it's beneficial to you. What about when I need you? So I've learned to categorize people in the category that they need to be in. You used to be my friend. We grew up together. We were friends. We were kids. The definition of a friend to me is different than my definition of a friend when I was a kid. When I define a friend, they don't fall into that category. So I'm going to either call you somebody that I grew up with, or an associate, or somebody I work with. I don't put the title friendship on people who don't deserve it, because I'm loyal. I'm loyal. I'm not selfish. Some people may say that I am, but I know that I'm not. I will do anything I can for you. I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to listen. If you have an event or you're doing something, you say, I'm going to call you. You need me to do anything? You need me to come over and help you? I'm a friend. I don't always get what I put out, but I'm not going to change who I am because you want to be an ass. And some people listen and say, oh, Lisa said a curse word, because I don't really curse. But just because you want to flake and don't want to be a true friend, I'm not going to change who I am, because God made me unique. And I'm glad that I am who I am. And I was driving the other day, and I was like, sometimes I do wish that I could be a little different, because sometimes I do get walked over and I do get used. But I realize that, you know what, God made me just who He wanted me to be. And I thank God for that. And He's going to handle the people who like to take advantage of people that's kind and like to use people. Because there are users, and there are some people that like to give, some people that like to take. There are users, and there are people that like, you know, people that be used. And I'm always on the side of being used, being taken advantage of, being taken for granted. Yeah, yeah. That just took me somewhere, to my past. You know, people take your kindness for weakness. I said we were going to talk about domestic abuse. We're going to talk about that because I was in a domestic abuse relationship for 13 years. And I'm not ashamed to say it, because that wasn't my issue. That was his issue. My issue was trying to figure out how to get away from him without involving other people and them not getting involved. And it took longer than I had hoped. But God saw fit the time to remove me from that situation. Back then I didn't know how to fight. I didn't know how to defend myself, because that's not what I grew up around. I never seen my dad disrespect my mother. I never seen my dad raise his hand or his voice to my mother. And anybody who knows the Thorne family knows that my dad was decent. My dad was there for my mother. My dad would go to work, come home clean, cook. My dad was decent. My dad was decent, and I miss him. God rest his soul. I miss my dad, and I think about him every single day. I didn't grow up in that kind of environment. I didn't grow up around cursing and drinking. And not saying that my husband was a drinker. My first husband was a drinker, but I didn't grow up in that type of environment. I didn't grow up in being around people in the streets. I don't know what the heck was wrong with me when I decided to venture into that type of relationship. But you live and you learn. I learned a lot from the relationship. I learned a lot of nuggets from him. Things that I carry with me today. Little simple things that people, parking. When I'm parking my car, parallel between two other cars, I'm not squeezing into no cars, especially not nowadays when you never know, you might have to just pull out. I'm not squeezing myself. I will drive a block just to find a spot where I'm not squeezing into nowhere. He taught me a lot. I've learned a lot. I went through a lot. I'll never go through that again. I'm prepared now. I got a Glock waiting for a nigga to try to put things on me. Trust me, I'm gonna blow your head off. Yes, I said it. But preparedness, I gotta work on that. I'm gonna share this story with you all. So a few months ago, I tend to get off rails, but I'm gonna come back. Y'all just pull me back in. But I gotta share this story with y'all when I'm talking about defending myself. So I'm licensed to carry. And I always try to be, prepared for anything that can happen. But in certain situations and places that I'm traveling, I can't, be carrying because I can't go into certain places. So I'm sitting in my car, and I see somebody digging in the trash can. My eyesight is bad. So they're like, I want to say probably like 100 feet away from me. Maybe a little bit more. So I see somebody digging in the trash can. So I'm in the city. So I'm thinking that it was a worker, changing the trash bags in the city trash cans. So then as they're walking closer to me, I see them digging in the trash can that was probably 25, 30 feet away from me. So I had some food that I was going to throw it away anyway. And anybody who knows me, I'm passionate about feeding the homeless and making sure, looking out for people. So I said, instead of me throwing this away, I didn't really pick over it. I just ate a little bit of it. I can give it to him, and it's still warm. I walk over to this man, and I said, "Excuse me, I have some food in here if you would like it." This man turned around with this look on his face, fling that bag out of my hand and chased me in the building. When I say I was not prepared, I was not prepared. I never dropped my pocketbook. I never dropped my bag. I didn't even try to fight. All I did was run, y'all. Listen, it's funny now, but when it happened, I was scared. I got in that building and I stopped at the security desk and I just cried because I felt like I should have been more prepared. Whether I had my gun on me or not, I probably would have popped the man in his leg just to stop him. I wouldn't have killed him. But I should have been prepared to at least fight him with my hands. I was not prepared. And I'm going to take some self-defense classes because I'm going to kick a nigga in his nuts. I'm going to punch him in his face, pull his eyeballs out or something. But I'm going to be prepared. I need to be mentally prepared because I wasn't prepared. But yeah, I've been through a lot in my life. But it won't happen again. You live and you learn. And a lot of things I went through in my life, I regret that my kids had to be witness to it. But it also taught them. I don't have kids. My kids don't go through what I went through. My daughter, Alicia, listen, try her if you want to. My sons, they not going to do that because they saw their mom go through that. My daughter's not going to take it because they like, no, I ain't going to, no, it ain't going down. So we're going to talk about that because I went to an event at my church some years back, and you never know who you're sitting next to, who may be going through something that you went through, and they think they in this world by themselves. They may be going through it, they may have went through it, and sometimes you need to just let that go, release it, forgive yourself for putting yourself in that situation, and moving on. I went through a lot that I wish I didn't go through, but I am so much stronger than what I was back then. I know as you get older, you evolve, you mature, you encounter people, you learn. Every second is a learning moment. With every person you talk to, every conversation, you're learning, you're growing because you're getting fed information that's going to help you be a better person. You're going to chew the meat and spit out the bones. Take what you can and leave what you can't. And I am so much better than I was. And that's why this is the perfect time to start a podcast, because I have a lot of things that I can share, a lot of things I want to share, a lot of fun we're going to have on here. I'm going to get some of those cards. I want to use some of those cards to just post some questions to you guys. And I'm going to actually have where you guys can leave me a message where you can answer some of the questions that I'm going to ask you guys. What would you do in that situation? And we're going to play it back on the next episode. So I'm so excited. I'm so excited for getting this podcast off the ground. So what I'm going to do is for next week, don't forget to join me. I'm going to have my husband here, Stacks, Jibo, who, however you met him along the way, he's going to join me next week. But for this week, coming up, until next week, what I want you to do is I want you to tell somebody about my podcast. I want you to tune in next week. And I want you to remember to live. I want you to remember to love. And I want you to remember to laugh. And we're going to do that together. We're going to be better together. So until next week, I thank you for joining me. And I thank you for listening to me run my dang mouth like I always do and like I'm going to do. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me. And I thank you, God, for the vision. I thank you, Lord, for the strength. And I thank you, Lord, for favor, grace, and mercy. And I thank you, Lord, for everybody who tuned in this week. And I thank you, Lord, for everybody who's going to tune in next week. And I thank you. Until next week.